It's also a decent meta for decent AD carry players. So we'll have to see if Fourth Wall are able to pick up any of those priority champions for themselves, or if Nord going to take them away as we are entering Champion Select.
Okay, the other player for us worth highlighting before we get into this game, Oman in the mid lane had a lot of hype for me at the very least coming into the split as a whole. Didn't particularly live up to that in week number 1, but yesterday I saw a lot of power from his Ahri, pairing up specifically with Seneca's Nautilus. Those are 2 picks that I would like to see at the very least addressed in this pick ban. And of course, we are aware of the graphical issues. Please do bear with us. We will figure out what's going on when we know.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Omen, I feel like kind of Nord as a whole, feel like that character that in a show that is amazing, but their intro episodes, like, suck.
Yeah.
Like, they're just, like, the worst guy. Like, they're not particularly funny, like, they're entertaining, or they're just, like, boring or stupid or whatever. But you're watching the show with your friend and like, bro, I promise you, they get really good. They're an absolute badass by the end of Season 2. But you kind of got to get through this. And this sort of development, it's what Nord have been very, very vocal about. And we're sort of seeing it coming to fore on the Rift as well.
Yeah, and hopefully, of course, this continues. This is the beginning of a fairly, hopefully, decent split for Nord. And that turnaround coming in week 2, it's a good enough time for it. Going to hopefully hop back into the draft. Boy,
Lovely.
Look at that.
Oh.
Wow, red side bans, huh? Who'd have thought?
No. Wow. I think we've just copy and pasted them from the last draft. I think we are maybe playing a little bit funny games there. But the picks, very different to what we saw last game so far, really, dude. But in terms of where they're being put.
Yeah, so Maokai first pick, lovely stuff. More than happy with that one. I think this champion is still super bonkers. Touched on the build last game. AP, good. TLDR. I like the Xayah combo together, acts the same way as we talked about for the Vizeri. You take away that AD carry so that the cease and desist works really easily onto the likes of an Aphelios. He's not going to have a way of keeping himself safe. And I think that we saw from Nord yesterday their ability to press on an AD carry and take down said carry.
Yeah, and it's safety for Blink, which I think when you are in this position that Fourth Wall are, where they're not really finding their feet as much, give your AD carry a little bit more of their own tools to keep themselves alive, and maybe you're going to have a better chance in these 2 fights. Nord here looking quite aggressive in terms of their setup. Maybe not in terms of pure skirmishes, but once we get to the team fight phase, there's a lot to be scared of here.
And a lot of engage as well, right? To add on to that fear factor, they've got grasping roots coming through. They've got an extended engage from Seneca as well. I'm looking at one top lane tank to come through to really round out how this top side is going to look to play and how your team fights are going to function as well. You can just plug and play a control mage for Oman here if you're looking for that. I think that the second round of bans could also quite easily head toward an Ahri just to really remove that double down threat that Nord could look to in the mid lane.
Yeah, and obviously Fourth Wall here coming with a new support player in Seku, so interesting to see how that bot lane dynamic is going to work with Blink. Obviously Chimera was Blink's longtime partner at his previous team over in the Super League, so maybe a little bit less synergy between these guys, but on the Nautilus, a champion that you can really get out of lane with, and you don't necessarily have to worry as much with those laning dynamics.
Yeah, and also worth saying here that Chimera swaps into the mid lane. Now, this is a position that he's played numerous times, numerous seasons before. It was a role swap to support from him in previous splits, so mid lane for Chimera, not a foreign concept, and whilst he may be a little less familiar with the specifics of matchups, the mid lane concept as a whole should still very much be there.
Absolutely, and you can see that they're sort of trying to get him a decent matchup here with the J-spam coming through. We saw what that could do in our last game. So pretty gross stuff if you are an AD carry main. But the Ahri ban away actually from Nord on their own side here, just really looking at that duo with the Vi and going, we don't want to be seeing that on the Rift.
And I guess this suggests that they're thinking Fourth Wall are going to go for a blind pick in that mid lane and give Molto an advantageous matchup on that top side, taking away either good blind picks or setting up for a potential LeBlanc here actually as a blind for Oman in that mid lane. Ahri and Syndra, 2 very good matchups for the respective bans here, and sets Oman up to potentially be able to take that LB for himself blind.
Yeah, and LB as a champion, so great at popping that Xayah out early, right? You go into a fight with a distortion, you QR, you get out of there, and you're fine. Don't worry, Blink's just doing his troll hovers that he does every single game. The Ornn, not really a top lane carry here for Molto, but something that he's already played on before.
Yep, and you're heading into a stock standard matchup, and I think that taking this on specifically enables your dive into the backline quite a lot, with pairing up nicely with a Vi and a Nautilus. There's a slightly high chance that he though has a pretty rough time of things this game.
Yeah, I like the little hovers there on the Yasuo. Obviously, Omen's had a little go on that champion. Maybe we're going to see it again. Maybe we will not. But tank v tank here in the top lane. I think what we're expecting from both of these rosters.
Missing a lot of magic damage still for Nord to head into the mid lane. I said they can just plug and play a control mage. Wouldn't be surprised to see either of those. Would have liked to have seen a LeBlanc, to be honest. There's one real threat from Blink so far, and it could have taken it down. But Cassiopeia is my favourite mid lane to take in this specific situation. Okay, I want to highlight that Nord had only got one real carry previously. They've now picked up a second hyper carry that can match damage for Aphelios in the late game. It makes Fourth Wall's job of target selection and picking off one specific target a lot harder, because they can focus with Cease and Desist, take out with Depth Charge one carry. You use that onto the Aphelios, your Cassiopeia pops off. Use it on the Cassio, the Aphelios pops off. That's the theory, that's the idea. It does require both of these carries for Nord to be at very least out on parity, very strong. Otherwise, it does just become Fourth Wall going, oh, this Aphelios is 0-10, we'll focus the Cassio.
Yeah. But I think I want to sort of take that point that you made, and we can almost apply it to Fourth Wall themselves, right? Because, again, you've got a very similar composition here. You've got a high damage mage in the mid lane and a hyper-scaling ADC in the bot side. And the thing that is really interesting for me here, Rudu, is we've sort of got a little bit of a split in terms of the range. We've got Aphelios, the longer range ADC, on the Nord side, and Victor, the longer range mage, coming through here for Fourth Wall. So neither team really getting a massive range advantage out of these carries.
I think that Chimera can decide this game later that it goes. Those lasers do outrange everything that Nord have got going for them outside of the grasping roots, it's worth saying. So Indecision is either going to have to try and find Chimera. Chimera's going to have to try and find poke onto the backside, the backline access that Nord are looking for as well. So a couple little intricacies about this matchup could be very specific and very decisive as we get later on into this game. Thinking setting up objectives if those lasers are hitting. 4-item laser really deals a lot of damage to an ADC. So one of those quick little pokes can decide how a team fight's going to play out.
And like you said, it's Chimera coming back into this position that he has had so much experience on, right? This guy was known as Scottish Faker back in the days. A Scottish carrier for a little bit, but he's resuming that role of the Glaswegian unkillable Demon King. What are your thoughts here? Sort of this situation, this decision here by Fourth Wall to have this guy coming into the mid lane. What do you think it's going to work for them?
So I think it depends on, because I think that they used Ericsson, they also pulled in Mirage yesterday, and now they've pulled in Chimera for this. If this is just we need to see something that's going to work, I don't mind this as a Hail Mary. You have an extra mid laner on the roster. I feel a little bit bad that yesterday we only got to see one game. I think that's not like the greatest sample size, but I mean, Chimera's a proven factor of a mid laner. Is he proven at the NLC level? We'll have to wait and see. And I think that for the most part, heading into this game, I think that Victor, certainly a champion that I remember him for going way back. So I'm happy enough with how Fourth Wall have made the changes to the roster and incorporated them into this draft.
Well, we'll see if they are going to be able to pay off for them as we are heading on to the Rift. Nords feeling pretty damn good about the way that they played yesterday. Fourth Wall definitely looking for some improvement, and I kind of want to see what Indecision does, because yesterday he was on the Nocturne, and whilst he had a good performance once we sort of crested the mid, first few ultimates coming out from him really weren't up to snuff. So I think we've seen improvement from him. I want even more. I want that early game to be even crisper.
Why is this fun fact? 3 years ago, a coach of Blink called him bad because he couldn't dodge enemy auto attacks. Blink did try his best, though. That's a common
Are we just
issue.
taking like Counter-Strike as a summoner spell now? Is that the meta? God,
I mean, I think they were playing versus Zeri before Zeri was released, because you can technically dodge everything that Zeri pumps out. Those Qs, theoretically, a skill shot.
Well, it's like Twitch Ultimate, but on steroids,
yes.
right?
That is irritating.
So wonderful, opening up with the Twitch Ultimate, and you just see the enemy dashing and running out of your autos. You're like, great, no, I'm really enjoying this, mate.
I've had numerous tilted moments that I don't need to bring up on broadcast, but specifically with that interaction.
not a
We can
fun
dial
one.
back in though, and head more toward how this bot lane is going to interact. Our observers are directing us down here. We've got double engage supports for the laning phase, so our AD carries need to be on their toes at the very least, dodging out on dredge lines, dodging out on grand entrances, making sure that those engages aren't being given over to the respective bot lanes.
And we've also got junglers starting on the top side that both have a fair bit of CC in their back pocket.
Pathing away from tanks? No.
Oh, no way. Couldn't see it happen. Ooh. Pretty smart there from Molto, but he's still not going to win out on that trade. Catch cost with a level advantage taking control.
I will posit that was smart from Catch Cost because he knew that Molto was unstoppable. Yeah. And that E there would have actually pushed him further or closer to his turret, so it gives Catch Cost a slightly better trade, a better window to try and take that little battle.
Yute maybe looking at a gank in the mid lane here as Omen. We've looked at them, just sort of able to walk it out of there.
Welcome back to mid lane. Here's a gank.
I think Yute might try and go for another play. He's actually opting to invade onto Indecision. This could be risky. Chimera doesn't have mid lane prio.
Super spotted from that ward down there, and I think that Indecision now with that sapling is going to at least know that Yute is in this tribe rush. There's nowhere else that the Vi can be. And now with the push in that bot side, everybody's going to peter out. We're going to go back to assuming safety. And with that little venture from Yute, he has 3 camps to clear on his bot side of the map, so best off start getting to them. So,
Rudu, we kind of talked about how this Cassiopeia is going to be a very strong scaling threat, but you don't often see her as a champion who is blind picked. Do you think that the situation she has been presented with on the fourth wall side is going to be an issue with her, particularly this Victor in the mid lane?
Okay, so the Victor Cassio matchup is fairly nuanced, as I'd say in most mid lane matchups. If Chimera goes in for Q trades, that's when Omen can trade back, but the way that I'd expect to see Chimera play this lane is exactly what you witnessed just there, where you look to just use laser. That's about it, and then as soon as you start, as you can see, taking Noxious Blasts into Twin Fangs, you start losing out on these trades. So you want to just be playing at range. Cassiopeia, a very mid-range mage, very good at dealing DPS if she can get in range, but the power of Victor is that you should be able to keep the Cassiopeia at bay between using the Gravity Well and the laser to slow down once you've got those augments in.
Yeah, Seneca just going in for a short trade in the bottom lane, but Hito not opting to dish any damage further out. I kind of want to see how they are going to perform today, because it has been quite high variance, I think, particularly coming out of Seneca. Obviously, amazing performance on the Nautilus last time out, but here on the Rakan, I think you're a little bit squishy, and I think your engage options, I think they need to be changed up a little bit.
They're also just harder. There's no harm in telling people that Nautilus is an easier champion to pilot than Rakan. Yes, there's the idea of when to engage, and then you get into all of the abstract concepts around League of Legends, but I think that fundamentally Nautilus just requires less brain power, as Chimera gonna have to try and use some to get out of this situation.
Yeah, pops down that gravity field, and Indecision not able to make his way through, so the Victor just able to waltz his way out of there on those robot legs.
Can't go that way, okay. He's tried to walk back through the river again, and I love that Omen is just saying, hold on 1 second, buddy, you're missing at least 1 minion of experience here, go the long way. Thank you.
That's fair enough. But really, in terms of the solo lanes that are going well for Nord, I think top lane, more than any, you see Catchcost taking that reset, but even so, still up pretty significantly in terms of Molto in CS.
Yeah, and I mean, it stems from the early trade, and now, of course, finding a decent wave to base on. Comes back full Aegis already finished, so he's more than happy to take some trades versus the Ornn if necessary. And you know, Ornn has that power of just being able to build items in lane. Small trading here in that mid lane. Ultimate's committed from Chimera. You see fourth wall taking down this first dragon. Could be tricky for them. You can see Nord, they have the opportunity to try and collapse mid lane. Prio for Omen means he can move first.
Well, it's getting quite close. Dragon is going to get taken down. They're going on to Omen, turning around with the petrifying gaze, but Yute has found himself isolated and found himself dead. Burst blood coming through for Nord Esports. Seku flashing back away, but Indecision chasing it forward. The feathers pulled back, but no one dying just yet. Hito getting a second kill as Seku drops down. Chimera trading it back, but it's one more for the Phalios. Moment of madness, flashing forward to try and take out Omen, but Blink will not be successful. Nord find 4.
And the dragon goes the way of fourth wall. That is a very little consequence, though. Early game, Hex Tech Drake feels good to get a little bit of attack speed, but the consequences of those kills are going to be much more rife. Really happy to see Hido making that move. Flash plus Ghost having immeasurable value there. Never able to, or always able rather, to keep the Chakram DPS really high. Of course, Chakrams themselves, if you are closer to your enemies, it means that your attack speed is increased. So when you have the Ghost and you're able to be so close to your enemies, you're getting so much value from that white gun early on.
And the great thing here for Nord is, as we look at this top lane, that was winning. Great. Mid lane also doing well. Omen in a more accelerated spot. The only real place that Fourth Wall could go, yeah, we're kind of going even, is bot lane. That's emphatically not the case anymore.
2-0 to Aphelios. Definitely feels bad. Indecision flexing his muscles down on this bot side a little bit. I will say Hido's gun rotation might be a little bit out of sync there. You don't really want purple-white together, but he's got red-white. That's the classic tried and tested. We'll see if he can fix it on the next rotation of his guns. For the time being, though, will be absolutely fine. I do want to quickly touch on this mid-lane matchup as well, because we're seeing the definition of that nuance, right? If Chimera was using these lasers, these trades look a little bit better, but as soon as Oman is able to find that first Q, means that Twin Fang does a lot more damage. So versus 2 potential in the mid lane here. Looks like we're all good. But if we look at the items, specifically is where I wanted to touch on. Chimera is actually quite close to finishing Leandri's, and he's 1250 gold. And I dare say he's running Futures Market. He's got First Strike, started out with the Sapphire Crystal for that super early lost chapter. There's a chance that Fourth Wall can circumvent some of the gold deficit by having a super early mythic on their mid laner.
You'd say trying to form some sort of aggression against Catch Cost and not being able to do it. That's
bad.
I'm agreeing with that statement, Rude. That's not great for Chimera. And now Nords don't have one carry, who is 2-0 in Turo. They've got 2.
Oh, yes. And again, reminder, Oman started this game with the tier of the Goddess. It's a very greedy opener, but it's one that was matched by Chimera's Sapphire Crystal. So this Cassio has already started that scaling aspect very early on. So we could be looking at a late game Snake that is going to be dealing quite the absurd amount of damage.
Yeah. For Fourth Wall, though, are we panic stations quite yet? The gold lead is 2,000, but a lot of it is spread quite far across the map. It doesn't feel like there is one member of Nord who is just uber far ahead of their opponents.
Correct. Panic stations, not yet. I think that Fourth Wall still have a lot of ways to execute on this game to punish what Nord have already got going for them, right? They have got very good dive. Vi or Nautilus means that somebody doesn't get to play League. And if that has to be Oman in one fight, it has to be this Cassio. So with the mid-range nature of a Cassiopeia as well, you have to get down and dirty to be able to deal DPS. You either don't do DPS and stay safe, or you put yourself in harm's way and are able to do damage. So for Fourth Wall, there is still a world where they can very easily turn this game back around. The game by no means over, but it's now on Fourth Wall to make the plays to come back into the match.
And if we're speaking about making plays, it looks like Nord of the team bit more willing to do that as it stands. Indecision level 6 has access to that Nature's Graph if he wants to throw that down, but Seku and Blink just playing so scared, playing with a lot of respect, recognizing that there's the potential for Nord to get something here.
Early Rylai's Crystal Scepter as well finished for Oman in the mid lane, meaning that if Chimera gets caught by literally any single spell, probably has to burn either the ulti, the flash, some sort of disengage tool to make sure that he can live. And of course also helps out when chasing down the likes of tanks, of short-range champions that we've got, those highlighted engages tools that I pointed out earlier, also going to feel the wrath of a Rylai's Crystal Scepter.
Yeah, like Vi goes in, Nautilus go in, but they don't tend to leave team fights too often in good shape, and that is just made even harder when not only are you facing against a Rylai's with a Rylai's Crystal Scepter Cassiopeia, you're just facing against a Cassiopeia. This champion is so disgusting to try and dive.
It's also worth noting that Oman went for the Conqueror, so just does a lot of damage when you get ramped up. If you're looking at like second Q, is when the Conqueror will be fully stacked, fully procced, and all of that bonus adaptive force going to start coming in as well. No gold funneled into Oman specifically with that Rift Herald charge, but it's just the one plate that goes the way of Indecision. Honestly, a lackluster Herald for now, but it does mean that they can set up for taking down a Victor's turret on the second Herald, which is a something that was actually popularized over in the LPL back in 2022, Season 12, which you would just take both Heralds and then offset any of Victor's wave clear by using double Herald in his lane, and he'd said, well, I can't really do anything to stop that.
Yeah, well, to be fair, as long as the Victor has TP and is alive, mid lane tower is probably not going to be falling down, right?
Exactly, and that's why people use this Herald, and it's why I'm not too much of a hater, specifically, that you only get one plate from said charge. Now, want to highlight quickly that we're 4 minions away from Hido also finishing a call. Blink did manage to get that, and the ADC is currently on parity. If we sort of fight down on that bot side, likelihood is that it does come down to execution. As you can see, Yute's here as well, and maybe trying to sniff out where Indecision is to see if they can find a dive.
This would be risky, though. Rakan is not something that you want to be jumping on top of. Hido with sums as well. Teleports are going to be coming down. The flash away from the Aphelios, and Yute left a little bit on his lonesome. Keeper's verdict is not going to be thrown out there as Catchcross is exploded, but the Moonlight Vigil is even bigger. Hido going forward. Seneca looking for knockups. Molto just trying to provide a little bit of disengage. Blink once again flashing forward, but once again it is for Utile. Seneca with that kill, and Indecision with the smite to take out Monto. Chimera, the only one left standing. Nord once again with a massive fight around the bot side.
Yeah, Fourth Wall pulled the trigger, but it unfortunately misfires. It's a brilliant collapse from Nord, excuse me. The TP comes through from one side, the Poppy, immediate value from that steadfast presence. Inferno multi goes absolutely huge onto the two carries of Fourth Wall, and Blink there doesn't flash the knock-up, seals his own fate. When that one lands, Chimera's able to limp away, and Oman happy to stand in here, clean up the scraps that are left by Fourth Wall.
Dropping the smite to secure the kill a little bit, PM, but that's the second time this game that Blink has flashed forward to try and get something out of a losing play for Fourth Wall and not been able to get it. Omen not quite going to be able to connect with his own ultimate, but Indecision's there to drop the roots as well. This Cassiopeia is getting to a very, very scary point. Nord continuing to build up that gold lead, continuing to build up the strength of their carries.
Might be time to start sounding that panic alarm, Middlecott. 4-0-4 for the Aphelios, and Hido has been positioning exceptionally well in these skirmishes that we've seen. Oman, 3-0-3. If he's working towards a Rod of Ages as well, that is... it's late to get one, but it's kind of speaking to how comfortable you can tell Oman feels in this game.
Yeah, because fundamentally Nord are not pressured, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be happy with their scaling because they've got a Cassiopeia who's doing very, very well. And it honestly doesn't feel like they've had to do anything themselves. The way that they've gotten these 10 kills has almost exclusively been off responding to over-aggression from Fourth Wall.
Started at that dragon earlier on. Yes, Fourth Wall secured the Drake, but of course got absolutely slaughtered in the fight after the fact. So you're exactly right. Nord just kind of responding to plays that Fourth Wall go for, and Fourth Wall opting into these trades that maybe they shouldn't be doing. A little bit of something to go back, look on, and see, okay, what more due diligence can we do in future games to not give over these leads. Catchcross is very tanky.
He is going to interrupt the pullback a little bit there. Still rooted by the feathers as Fourth Wall desperately attempting to slay the Poppy on the side lane. Already has that Jack shows. Finally!
There we go.
It's going to get taken down, and Blink is going to be able to grab that kill. But meanwhile, on the other side, Nord trying to make a play for the Herald.
I like this from Fourth Wall, though. They're going to get a second turret, hopefully, with that new wave crashing. That's a lot of gold from those tier 2 turrets. So that proactive play that we like to see from teams when they're behind, Fourth Wall exhibiting here. 2.5k gold deficit gain, not quite out of reach just yet. So those productive plays are very, very positive for me.
Yeah, good stuff. Not quite able to take it down, and I think Nord now with that Rift Herald in inventory, game plans like you were talking about a little bit earlier, Rude. Get that mid lane tower down, which is going to open up your ability to start these team fights around objectives.
My key thing is we just want to watch where Hido goes on the map. Really good teams, what they'll do is they'll just take turrets with their AD carries. Obviously, they're the best types of champion to take down turrets, and they also benefit the most from taking gold. So I want to see where Hido goes. That's likely where we're going to see this Herald used, because they should be trying to funnel gold into this Aphelios. You can already see a little bit of a mid lane shift from Indecision. They can pop down this Herald and make sure that Aphelios is securing a bit of the gold. They'll be more than happy.
But again, look at these. It's Fourth Wall, again, making another play on a side lane. Trying to get even more gold here for Blink. Omen chasing down Seku, that Rylai's Crystal Scepter, like you mentioned. Seneca flashing over the wall. He's got on a marathon to try and kill Blink. He's not going to be successful for the time being, but as the Nature's Grass come through, the Xayah is not long for this world. Hido with his 5th kill of the game. Omen with his 4th. And Yute is going to be served up on a silver platter for Indecision.
Oh, it's just beautiful. Nord collapsing. There's a teleport down into the bot side from Chimera. That's worth mentioning. The solo laners from Fourth Wall did take that mid-tier 1 turret. It's the expectation that that one will fall at some point. That's at least evened up. But Fourth Wall, once again, going for a play they don't have the resources for, and Nord collapsing appropriately.
And now we're starting to see these trades not necessarily benefiting Fourth Wall, right? That gold gap starting to extend a little bit more. They are keeping themselves in this game. They are keeping some gold on relevant carries, but Nord are just getting more on the map right now.
Yeah, two turrets in the top lane. I would love to see Oman actually placed into this top side of the map now with Rylai's Crystal Scepter. If you spot somebody, then you can chase them down. They're likely going to die unless they've got the damage and DPS to try and stat check you in response. Spoiler alert, nobody's got that at the minute on Fourth Wall's side. So if somebody gets caught by Oman in a side lane, they should die.
Did just see Seku burn his flash in the mid lane there, so not sure if he was able to get anything from that, but still, Fourth Wall, like you were talking about, looking for these plays, but he will be without that summoner spell for the next little bit. Interesting to see Nord not really concerned about Fourth Wall taking this Drake, kind of just being able to give it over for free.
So they didn't overplay, but they played their hand a lot on the top side. They committed to that top lane tier 2 turret, and Oman just now based and actually TP back out to that top lane. It is just saying they don't particularly care for it, and instead are valuing the gold significantly.
Makes a lot of sense. Still a minute and a half until we have the Baron Nashor spawning. And it feels like both games today so far, Rudude, have sort of had this accelerated tempo where the winning team is almost too far ahead for the point of the game that they find themselves in.
Yeah, you know, Nord right now would love a Baron to start trying to crack open turrets, make sure that they can weave their way into the base. As you mentioned, not particularly at that point in the game. They used the second Herald, Nord did, to secure a top lane tier 2, which is a lot of gold, but it's not going to help them in the map as much as a mid lane tier 2 will. So Nord's port of call for the time being should be try and break this mid tier 1 turret, get more access to the enemy jungle, and start setting a little bit of deeper vision.
Well, it looks like they're sort of trying to paint it by the numbers, right? Top lane gone, bot lane gone, now going to be able to rotate over to the mid lane. And when you lose these outer towers first, that mid lane tower becomes so much more vulnerable because Nord can do stuff like this. Dive onto Seku under that tower without a care in the world, although they may need to be a little bit more careful as here comes Yutei on to the engage. But Seneca with a brilliant quickness on the backside disengages everything that Fourth Wall could have done, and Hido getting even more kills. Tower's going to be falling down. Nord still looking for stuff under this one.
Focus one hyper carry. Nord have got a second one as backup. Hido doing overtime on this game. Beautiful catches. Blink with the Infernum Q and then swipes back to the Gravitum to take out Blink. Still had the ulti, had flash, could have dodged any of those tools, but didn't. Hido, brilliant performance on the Aphelios this game. And if you're looking at a hyper carry to try and take down as Fourth Wall, either of these two champions now are devastating to leave alone.
If you don't love Nord at their week 1, then you don't deserve to cheer for them at their week 2. What a turnaround, we've seen from these guys. And for such a young roster as well. And it's those younger components. It's those rookies coming through and really showing up. Seneca, another part of that bot lane, again having a great performance. And Omen really righting the wrongs of that week 1.
Couldn't agree more. And this isn't just we've not banned their Ahri for a week, then that gives Nord really good access to the mid lane. This is two not just different champions but completely different styles as well. The way an Ahri plays versus the way Cassiopeia plays, completely different play styles. Very happy with how Oman has targeted this mid lane and specifically really punished Chimera. It happened from the get-go. The laning phase didn't look good, and yes, there was a little bit of support from Indecision there, but this Cassiopeia has been putting in overtime from the get-go.
Yeah, you do need to be careful of his opposite number, though, because Chimera does now have 2 items, Blink in a similar position of power. And so if we are looking down at that scoreboard in terms of effective itemization, Fourth Wall pretty close for the moment. So if there is a fight in the next couple of minutes, maybe they've got a chance of coming back into the game.
Yeah, I want to highlight the power of this Radiant Virtue as well, though. The fact that Indecision is going to be exceptionally tanky due to the Sunfire Cape, but also has that team-wide healing that the Radiant Virtue is going to give. Cutting through the Cassio, cutting through the Aphelios becomes even harder when there's tick healing coming through. Seneca's got Summoner healing, he's going to have Gleaming Quills as well. Hido, he's juggling his guns right, and for the moment it looks like he is is going to be using red-white during these fights. So the lifesteal coming through again, exceptionally difficult. We've reached 21 minutes middle. Cop Baron's been alive for a little bit. It's a longer tenure than I thought he'd have, but now we need to see Fourth Wall get into this pit.
Yeah, because Nord are DPSing this one down way too quickly. Ultimate's committed to keep Yute away, and it's like you say, Rude Dude, absolutely beautiful.
Just textbook Baron play right there. They know that, first of all, they've done some good sweeping around the pit. They've done a lot of due diligence. Okay, call the Force Guard.
Flash away from Hido, but Yute's still going to be able to get over that wall. Aphelios, oh no! Yute! What on earth was that? Molto going to try and spare the blushes of his jungler, but the stopwatch is going to buy even more time for Hido. He's not going to be able to survive this, surely! Surely he's not going to be able to survive this, surely! No! The AD carry's going to stay alive here on the side, and Nord and Fourth Wall are going to get broken apart in the enemy jungle. It's a double kill already for Hilo, and here comes Indecision, going to be able to be a massive tank on that front line. It's the cast now. She's doing the DPS as Blink is desperately attempting to get something back for his team, but there is nothing. Triple for Hino, double for Omen, ace for Nord.
Beautiful play from Hino. Stopwatch keeps him alive. The Inferno ulti doesn't need it to be happen. It's the Severum. It's that healing from the red gun. 5-man heal off of the ulti. Stays alive. Hino is dead to right as you take that freeze frame. But he's able. Stop watching the first call. Waits out the gravity ball. Swaps to his red gun. Ulti. Lands across everyone. Keeps himself alive. And then the collapse comes through. Catch cost goes in, buys a lot of time, and just enough for the rotation of Hino's weapons to be able to do DPS from afar, and Omen to come in as well. If you take down one carry, the second's going to do the work. Fourth Wall, they couldn't find the first one, and the second one was doing overtime work as well. Omen dominating, Seneca going forward. Blink, you got no ulti, buddy. I'll see you later.
Yeah, but Nord's not going to be committing onto the sire just yet, as
me and Seneca are on the same wavelength. I don't care.
They have looked very damn good. This bot lane, once again, you can see why Nord picked them up. It's been an incredible performance. 16 kill participation from Hino, 17 from Seneca. And honestly, for Fourth Wall, I feel like they could have done not much more in that fight. At this point, the gold diff, the wallet diff is just too much.
This game plays itself for Nord right now. Oh, okay. Hino's sniffing for a highlight reel. Didn't quite find it, unfortunately. Can't object to that, though. Like you said, the wallet diff speaks for itself. And all they have to do is just let the Baron do the hard work at this point. They've got so much gold that I think Indecision here, when you've got the grasping roots, you can just go forward with them, zone off Fourth Wall from a turret. I would like to see them try and attempt to break the inhibitor line of turrets. They've got literally this wave. Here comes the Coffee Copter.
And Keeper's Verdict going to knock away Blink, that AD carry. Vital for Fourth Wall's defense, nice. And without him, Taru's going to be falling down. The inhibitor, without any means to defend itself, dropping as well. And Nord making their way out of there.
This is a really good sign from Nord. Something that we attributed, I believe, to Unique yesterday was their inability to close out a game, right? They managed to do it in the end, but it took them a little bit of time. And Nord, with punching open the base off of that Baron, sign of a really good team. The fact that they're using the tools at their disposal to push the game further, to make it end faster. Very happy with the use of that Keeper's Verdict, using the grasping roots as well in conjunction with that, to make sure that Fourth Wall have got absolutely no way into no way to defend. And now with the Drake spawning, it's not going to be consequential as to how this game goes. If there's a Cloud Soul this game, Nord have done something very wrong. But they can take the objective. They can make sure that they're getting themselves a little boon.
I mean, you might as well deny the objective bounty, right? It doesn't look like Fourth Wall is going to be able to make it anywhere near this Dragon Pit anytime soon. And I think post week one for this side, you can be a bit, okay, it's just week one. But coming into week two with two different mid laners, couple of different setup stuff, really isn't working at Fourth Wall right now.
Been a rough introduction to them for Division 1. Standings, of course, performed fairly admirably, it will be said, in their Division 2 spring season. But they've still got 5 more weeks. Plenty of time to try and right the wrongs, and as an introduction to Division 1, I think that that's at least what I would have hoped for from the NLC, is that you can come into Division 1, but whether or not you're ready as a Div 2 team, obviously a lot of questions to be asked. And yes, there's been a couple of roster changes and obviously making some adjustments here and there, but Fourth Wall's entry to the first league should have been difficult, and so far it just has been.
Yeah, and Nord here, in closing out mode. They don't have the Baron, although it is going to be spawning in roughly a minute. So anticipating not too much aggression here, just try and ensure that there is absolutely no way that Forthall are going to be able to leave their base.
And once again, we can see Poppycops are going to get wound up. Probably we've got the Nature's Grass coming through. He placed itself.
Going to be able to knock back two. There we go. Blink taken out of the fight once again. Nord know exactly what they want. They sure know how to get it. Hido with another kill. We're getting almost bored of saying that, but it's an immaculate performance from the Nord AD carry. Molto taken low. Blink having to go into the skies to barely keep his health bar intact, but as the minions marching through the base, Nord look to end.
Lethal Eye from Hido there, sees his opposite number and tries to take him out. Blink, wise to get away, but the Nexus turrets are falling. The Nexus soon to follow.
Flash away from the Zyra. She mounts one last desperate defense, but it will not be sufficient. Nord will go 2-0 as Hido gets a quadra kill.
Give it to him.
And Seko with the respawn knows what he must do. Hido will chase him down for a pentakill.
And the Nexus to fall afterwards. Hido 17-0.